Joining me now for an exclusive interview following that debate is the Democratic nominee for mayor of New York City, Assemblyman Zohran. I should just note for viewers, you just did a 2-hour debate, so I appreciate you still being able to talk and being here with me this evening. So we watched, of course, the whole debate. For a mayoral debate, a lot of the debate was about Donald Trump and what he might try to do to the city. We played one part of it there. But what did you make of your opponent's answers on how and if they would stand up to Trump?
You know, I think we saw the fact that while Donald Trump wasn't on that stage, his puppet Andrew Cuomo was. And we saw not only just the same kind of name calling and distractions, but the inability to stand up to the very billionaires that have been funding both the Trump administration and the Cuomo campaign. And what New Yorkers are looking for right now, as the Trump administration is detaining young girls as young as 6 years old and deporting them out of the city, is a mayor who will actually stand up for the people of the city. And frankly, we did not see that in Andrew Cuomo. And we even saw more willingness to stand up from the Republican candidate because, unlike Cuomo, he can't be bought by the same donors.
It's quite a place to find yourself. Let's talk about a specific example, because I think the reason this question was so important is that cities like New York City and Chicago and other blue cities are just the targets by the Trump administration, as you've talked about. Now, Trump is currently trying to withhold billions of dollars of infrastructure funding from New York City as part of his shutdown strategy, as you're well aware. You talked about this a little bit in the debate, but how specifically would you respond as mayor to make sure his retribution campaign doesn't hurt everyday New Yorkers? Because it could have a big impact if he keeps holding it back.
You know, I think time and time again, we see Donald Trump try to make this into a personal battle of political retribution. But these are attacks not on any one representative. They're attacks on the entire city. And what my job as mayor would be to tell New Yorkers how the suspension of $18 billion would continue to trap them in bumper-to-bumper traffic. It would continue to leave them in long train delays. And it would actually rob tens of thousands of New Yorkers of the jobs that they could have if this money that we're owed was actually to be delivered to them.
I think two things that Curtis Lewa definitely fucked up on, in spite of the fact that he actually looked more progressive than Andrew fucking Cuomo did, was when he said we can't expand the subway into Harlem, okay? Because that's very obviously not only like a racially charged thing that he's stating, but also it's not even like it doesn't even make sense for this day and age. That's like 1970s racism. And the other area where he fucked up was when he talked about the congestion pricing, saying that he was the only candidate on stage who was against congestion pricing. Those were two moments where it was like very obvious that he just looked silly and stupid. And I think that made him look worse overall. But also, his background is already pretty silly. I mean, there's a reason why he's run a million times for mayor and has lost consistently.
And what I would also do is not treat the words of Donald Trump as law just by virtue of them coming out of his mouth. We've seen Democrats across the country, especially in California, come together to put together legal lawsuits that have then resulted that for every dollar they spend, more than $30,000 in federal funds being received that would have otherwise been withheld. It's important that we have a mayor who can work with the attorney general here, work with the governor here. I'm proud to have both of their endorsements. We would work together to protect New Yorkers from these kinds of political acts of retribution.
Yeah, preparing for legal action feels unfortunately like the part of every elected official's job in this moment. Andrew Cuomo said a lot of things tonight. He said during the debate that you are not, quote, representative of the Muslim community of New York. What on earth do you think he meant by that? And what is your message to Muslim New Yorkers about why they should choose you over him to be the next mayor?
You know, I can't tell you what exactly he meant by that. I can only say that it took this campaign for Andrew Cuomo to actually understand that there is a Muslim community in this city and in this state. He was the governor for 10 years. He couldn't name a single mosque that he went to. I'm proud to be the first Muslim candidate on the verge of becoming the mayor of this city. And I know that what Muslim New Yorkers want is what every New Yorker wants: respect and dignity. And too often it's been denied on the basis of bigotry. And we saw some of that bigotry right here on this stage today. And we've seen it from Andrew Cuomo's campaign that has sent out mailers artificially lengthening my beard, where he's smeared me as a terrorist sympathizer. He has used the very kind of language that has pushed Muslim New Yorkers to the margins of our society, when in fact what we should do is treat each and every New Yorker as the same. And that's what I would do as the next mayor of this city.
Your relationship with New York's Jewish community.
Speaking of which, by the way, Elise Stefanick apparently came out and did that horrible Islamophobic shit again. Representative Elise Stefanick calls Zohran Mamdani definition of a jihadist. I hate this stuff so much. It makes me so mad because it's like it's doubly fucked. Because on the one hand, it's like very transparently a racist thing. Okay? It's a transparently racist thing to say. But on the other hand, every single Muslim living in the United States of America knows, regardless of how they practice the faith or not, it doesn't fucking matter. Okay? Regardless of that, they know that broadly, no one looks at that shit and goes, that's racist as fuck. Is so fucking annoying. Like, there is no world where you could make an equivalent counter to any other marginalized identity in this country. Like, actually marginalized identity, not like Polish people or Italian people or something. Like, I'm talking straight up like Jewish people on the virtue of their religion. You know, you can't get away with, or like black people or Hispanic people in that way. Anyone that transparently reduces someone to a racialized stereotype like that would get called out. And yet when you do it to Muslims, it's fine. You just get to do it. You just get to do whatever the fuck you want. It's so fucking annoying. I hate it. Yeah. And then she doubled down, by the way. Representative Elise Stefanick calls Zohran Mamdani's definition of jihadist because he is.
Community also came up in tonight's debate. I know that you recently have been reaching out to rabbis and community leaders. There's been some reporting about this too, who you disagree with and who disagree with you on your positions on Israel. And I think you're trying to build bridges. You can talk about this. But we've also seen some polling, which is quite interesting for people who aren't embedded in all the New York City politics like we all are, that shows there's this growing generational divide within the Jewish community when it comes to Israel. This is in other places, parts of the country too, where many younger Jewish people have moved away from the positions their parents had when it comes to Israel, and maybe still have. If you're elected mayor of the city with the world's largest Jewish population, what will you do to make sure that you're healing those generational divisions and really trying to continue to build bridges or better build bridges with people who have concerns about you and feel fearful?
I think the first thing is to make clear that I'm looking to lead this entire city, not just the New Yorkers who vote for me, whether in the primary or the general election, but all 8.5 million people who call the city home. And that means a number of Jewish New Yorkers who I've had the pleasure of meeting with over these last few months and even before that during the primary. And what I have said time and time again is that no matter what a New Yorker feels about Israel and Palestine and whether they disagree with me, I'm looking to be their mayor as well. And I know that a number of Jewish New Yorkers are seeing a rising anti-Semitism in this city, and they want a mayor who can actually address it directly. And I'm committed to doing that, increasing funding for hate crime prevention programs, ensuring that police continue to have a presence outside of synagogues and temples during the high holy days, and that we are actually implementing a curriculum that celebrates the breadth and the beauty of Jewish New Yorkers right here in New York City. Because too often, frankly, the language is...
Oh, yeah, by the way, look, I hope Schumer and Jeffries take a moment to think about how Stefanick cites their refusal to endorse Mamdani here as a justification for her insanely bigoted defamation of him. Hi, New York Times. Hack Emma GF, Emma G. Fitzsimmons. You asked us for a comment at 5:28 p.m. for a lengthy story published at 5:43 p.m. Epitome of New York Times hackdom. Here's my statement in full. I call Zohran Mamdani a jihadist because he is. Zohran Mamdani is a raging anti-Semite. Mamdani is the definition of a jihadist as he supports Hamas terrorists, which he did as recently as yesterday when he refused a call for Hamas terrorists to put down their arms. The same Hamas terrorist group that slaughtered civilians, including New Yorkers, on October 7, 2023. He is Kathy Hochul's endorsed jihadist communist who she has empowered to destroy New York City. It's why the New York State Democrat Party chair refuses to support him. It's why multiple Democrat members of Congress refuse to support him. It's why Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have still not endorsed him, because Zohran is a jihadist who will destroy New York. This was the AIPAC attack dog in New York state politics that rose to prominence under the leadership of the Democrats, mind you, when she used the committee position that she had to get a bunch of Ivy League presidents to resign in disgrace because they were not sufficiently pro-Israel. And they were already. These Ivy League presidents were already pro-Israel, obviously. They're fucking Ivy League institution presidents. Okay? The ADL praised Elise Stefanick yesterday for her tolerant approach in the aftermath of the leaks that came from young Republicans, New York young Republicans, talking about praising Adolf Hitler and putting gas chambers and putting their enemies in gas chambers. Okay? It is so fucking frustrating to have to deal with this shit with regular frequency. You are expected to be perfect at all moments. I think people from different marginalized backgrounds know this, whether they are trans, black, brown, they know that they are the singular sole representative of all trans people or all black people or all brown people in every single moment. And they have to be perfect all the time. And the knives are out all the time. And there is this like very clear cynical framework that you need to operate within, where you have to choose your words carefully all the fucking time. And the moment that you even seemingly overstep, the moment that you seemingly can come across as like, saying something that you don't mean, they pounce on you, while the opposition can fucking say whatever they want. The opposition can call you whatever the fuck they want. They could be like, oh, Zohran is going to strap himself with TNT and blow up the One World Trade Center. It's just such a clearly, it's such a transparently asymmetrical approach to communication. And it's one that you just have to eat every single fucking day. It makes me so goddamn mad. Yeah, here's another way that Mehdi Hasan is calling here. Here's another fucking way that the New York Times also plays a role in this. Did you change your headline and change Islamophobic attacks on Mamdani to just attacks because Elise Stefanick and the GOP bullied you into it? Really? Why are they no longer Islamophobic attacks, as your headline originally incorrectly stated? Mamdani faces attacks after comments about Hamas. Mamdani faces Islamophobic attacks after comments about Hamas. That was the original title. They changed it to Mamdani faces attacks after comments about Hamas. Zohran Mamdani, the frontrunner in the race for New York mayor of New York City, was attacked by lawmakers from both parties over comments he made in a Fox News interview. Then they made it worse. Zohran Mamdani, the frontrunner in the race for mayor of New York City, was criticized by lawmakers from both parties after he dodged a question about Hamas's future. It's so fucking stupid, man. Like, I'm not I don't run around crying about racism all the fucking time. But goddamn, dude, there's a level where it's just like, please be fucking normal. Bro, please stop sending me this shit, okay? Stop, Corso, stop spamming it. I'm not going to click on your link. Please. It's so frustrating. It's doubly frustrating because it's transparent what this is. And if you're Muslim, you know exactly what it is. And you also fucking know that there's nothing you can do about it because the broad majority also think that that is an appropriate way to fucking approach the conversation.
Only will you protect Jewish New Yorkers? It also has to be, will you celebrate and cherish those New Yorkers? And I will do that for Jewish New Yorkers and for every New Yorker because this is their city.
You seem to have said, and you tell me, these are your words, that you believe that Israel, of course, has the right to exist, but not necessarily that it should be a Jewish state. Help explain for people who are concerned about that or feel like it's a threat to their religion why that's not the case.
You know, I've said time and again that my focus...
Even with like the jihad thing, okay? Like, do you talk about the actual definition of jihad and correctly point to, or the definition of like martyrdom or definition of jihad, and try to explain to Americans the cultural references being completely distorted? Because that requires time, that requires effort, and many people are not going to understand it regardless of what you fucking say. So you have to operate within the confines of like American understanding of what that word implies. And that means, you know, you're going to strap TNT to your fucking chest and blow yourself up. It's so fucking annoying. It's so fucking annoying. You just have to eat it. Even when you are taking an approach that is going to be as broad reaching as possible, you still have to basically say, look, like you can't even explain what it actually means, what the word actually means, because no one will ever fucking take you seriously. And that was one of the things that he did with Intifada, globalize the Intifada. He first explained what it was and why it was like racially charged in this regard as an attack point, right? And then he had to concede on the opposition's framing on that issue. I don't think he should have, by the way, on globalize the Intifada regardless, but
will be here on New York City. But when I've been asked about what's happening in Israel and Palestine, I have shared that I have a reticence of recognizing any state's right to exist as a state with a hierarchy of citizenship, be it based on religion or on race. And that would be the case if we're speaking about Israel or if we're speaking about Saudi Arabia. And part of that is being an American and learning the importance of equal rights being enshrined in the Constitution of this country, and believing that every country should be one where every single person there has the equal rights, no matter their race, no matter their religion.
There is less than 3 weeks. I'm sure you're counting down to go until Election Day. We know because it's sweater weather for all of us. And there are some New York leaders like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries who still have not endorsed you, which frankly I don't understand, and I've said many times. But if you're elected mayor without their endorsements, which you are on track to do, how does that affect your working relationship with them? I mean, how will you approach it?
You know, I don't see it as affecting our working relationship at all, because in all the conversations we've had...
Why is she being normal? Because MSNBC has, especially many of the anchors on MSNBC, have taken a much more pro-Zohran slant. They're doing a better job reading the fucking room and the expectations that their base of support has for the Democrats than... Please watch Nephew skydive. Is Nephew actually skydiving into fucking TwitchCon? Because that is insane. Oh my God. That is maximum bit rate, dude. That is maximum bit rate. The fact that he has bit rate up there in the air, my Lord.